It's not terrible. All right. Well, welcome to another episode of the Spinning Circles podcast, episode number 3. We are at Garret's place. Garret, thank you so much for being on the pod, for accepting my invite.
Oh yeah,
accepting your invite
for sure, man. This is exciting. My first podcast, and this is gonna be fun.
It is. It should be. So we can start off, and you were just asking what an elevator pitch. Could you give us your elevator pitch?
Yeah. So I had to Google what this was because I didn't know. But I'm Garret. I work as a youth pastor in Winnipeg. I also lead a student leadership team with Inspire Our Nation, and I love playing sports, love watching sports. That is definitely one of my favorite things in life. I also love the outdoors, going for walks with my wife and baby, laying in my hammock or laying in the sun, going to the lake in the summer. I love summer. And my parents have a cabin, and we love to go boating. And I love tubing. It's maybe my favorite thing in life.
Yeah.
And I really love to kind of put on a bit of a show for people.
Okay. Okay, I see.
If people have never really seen very extreme tubing, I love to just see the big eyes after I jump my tube over somebody or do a barrel roll, and they've never seen that before. That's a lot of fun.
But would you say so quickly there? Would you say it's a two-man effort for the tubing? Because you're on the tube, but it's important for the person who's driving the boat.
Oh yeah.
It's important that position's also important.
Oh, it definitely makes a difference. And like, my dad is a good boat driver. I've definitely been with other boat drivers who, it's not as fun.
Mm-hmm.
And with some, it's almost like, okay, this is just scary. This isn't even fun.
Okay.
I remember sometimes, like when I was, 10, 11, 12, 13, and I remember one guy in particular boating behind him, and we would go on those like sit-down tubes.
Mm-hmm.
Sit-down tubes are just so much more dangerous. Like, you have way less control over where you're going, and when you fall so much harder, and there's bodies flying at you. It's like... It's so much more dangerous. But I remember going behind this one guy, and like some boat drivers, the good ones, they want to entertain you. They want you to have fun.
Yeah.
But there's some that are just like, no, my mission is to destroy your life and knock you off the tube. And there was one guy in particular who was so bad for that. And like, I didn't even have fun going behind him because I felt like I was on the verge of death. Like, I was like holding on just because I knew if I was going to fall off at this speed and the way we were hitting these waves, it was going to hurt bad. Yeah. So I did not like tubing with him.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I've been tubing. I don't have a cabin. I don't have a boat. I don't really have friends that are into that type of stuff. And like, I enjoy it, but yeah, I've only been tubing so many times, and every time I'm like, it's a lot of fun, but since I'm not used to it, I'm always very scared. But you go to the first time, you go around, and then you're fine. And especially if they know you're kind of new to it, they don't do it that bad, at least the first time. Or I guess it depends on the boat driver. You're right.
My dad would take it easy on you, but
I don't think he would.
No,
I do not think he would. Not at all.
Maybe not.
I heckle him too much on Sundays, so he would just take it out.
You'll have to come find out sometime.
Yeah, sure. I would love to. So you mentioned Collide, and that's how basically we know each other, through Oasis.
Yep.
That's where we met, and you say you're a pastor there?
Yeah. I up until recently, my wife and I kind of co-led the middle school ministry at Oasis. She has recently gone on mat leave, and now I've taken over her half-time position, and so I'm full-time, and leading that, planning for our weekly programming, and doing my best to try and support our 20 life group leaders as they lead each of their life groups, and pastor our students and care for them, and try and lead our students into a growing relationship with Jesus.
Nice. Just a good question. It's not on here, but how hard is it to do all this, to run Collide, to do everything you do work-wise?
Yeah, it's totally like there are definitely easier weeks and there are definitely harder weeks. Yeah, there's a lot of planning that goes into all the different aspects of it, and there's a lot of prep stuff, and then there's also a lot of just like pastoral care and things that come up, and it can feel like a really smooth week, and then all of a sudden you get a phone call from a parent who is going through a horrible time and struggling, and their kid doesn't seem to care about them, and they're feeling rejected by their kid. And there's obviously like when stuff like that happens, and then as they hurt, you hurt, and it's ups and downs. And then there's also like there's some weeks where a lot of it is just like hanging out with kids and doing fun stuff and playing games or cheering them on at sporting events. And those weeks it's like, oh man, this job's so easy. Like I love it.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely lots of highs and lows.
Yeah. I guess with all the retreats that's coming up soon, there's a lot of planning.
Tons.
On top of just the normal Collide week that we have. It just increases the workload.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because we're planning for our weekly stuff, but then, we've been planning probably since March or April for this retreat that we have coming up in October. Because there's just so many details that go into it, and so much planning, and we want to do it well, and want to honor God in it, and know that He's going to work, and want to make sure that we're not getting in His way as He's getting excited about what He's going to do.
Yeah, for sure. But this retreat that we're going on, or I guess that we're going on because I'm a leader. That's shared with Inside Out, which is the high school ministry.
Right.
So Armando takes part in that. How much do you collaborate with Armando and maybe with Daryl in like making this happen? And
tons. The three of us, and also Josh is like in charge of all of our tech stuff, and so he's involved with a lot of the like service elements, and Nicole is part of a lot of the planning in all of it too. And so it's definitely a team thing, which at times can create more work because there's more people to talk through things with, but I find in general, like I love team stuff. And so anytime we can plan stuff as a team or work together as a team, I prefer that, even if it does create a little extra work. I just always find anytime you can include more ideas, more people, more thoughts, it creates a better experience, and we end up with better ideas. I am not one who is super great on ideas. And so if other people can come up with lots of ideas, then my skill set is geared a little bit more towards taking those ideas and slightly changing them to make them a little bit better. But I need the idea people, and Nicole and Daryl especially are great people for that on our team.
Big idea people.
Yeah.
Nice. I've like at work we don't really work in group. Like we each have a project, but then my coworkers are really open to collaboration whenever I ask them for something, which is really nice. So I agree with the. I think it's tough when you have a group project and then you don't have great group members, because then you're doing all the work kind of by yourself, or if the communication's an issue, I find that it's really tough at school usually as well. But if you have an amazing team, which it sounds like you do, then it's just it's just so much better than working by yourself. So
totally. Makes things a lot more smooth.
Oh, for sure. So now time for the signature question. This is a question that I ask everybody.
Okay.
And it is, what is your favorite cereal and milk or liquid, because some people don't like milk, combination, if you have to pick one?
You know what? I was a little surprised by this question because for me, milk was the obvious liquid. But it brings me back to a time when I was camping with my family in Spruce Woods. I think we were in Spruce Woods.
Love that place.
And ran out of milk. and we ended up eating
Oh.
Frosted Flakes with Coca-Cola.
Oh, wow.
I would never recommend it. But I have this memory, and yeah, I don't know, that was nuts. That would not be my favorite combo.
Okay, I was gonna ask. If
No,
that was
definitely
your
not.
favorite.
Definitely not. I definitely like milk with my cereal.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a few different kind of go-to cereals, but I would say probably top of my list would probably be Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Okay, I like those. Yeah, those are good.
And I think if I was also gonna shout out like what I think is a fairly underrated cereal.
Yeah.
Because I don't know of anybody who really likes it, but I also really like Life cereal.
Never had it.
Really?
Never had it. I know about it when the little Vine back in the days, like when life gives you lemons, and it's just lemons coming out of a box of Life cereal.
Lemons?
Yeah.
A box of Life cereal?
Well, because it's like when life gives you lemons.
Oh, Life. Oh, okay.
And so it's like I don't know. It's just I don't know. I don't even know the context of it. It's just a Vine, and I was still young by then.
Yeah.
So, but okay, interesting. I've never had them, so I'll have to try them.
Yeah.
What do they taste like?
Try it out.
Are they like mini wits or?
You know what?
Sorry.
I'm not very good at describing what things taste like.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
You're not sure. Okay, I'll have to try them. I'm excited now. I'm excited.
You gotta try them.
I'm excited. All right. Let's move into some of the big questions. And obviously, you said you were a pastor at Oasis and all this. How did you always want to become a pastor? How did that come about?
Oh, yeah. I did not always want to be a pastor. I grew up on a grain farm, and I loved farming, and I wanted to become a farmer when I was a little kid. That was like when I was really little. As I got a little bit older and I got a little more into sports, then I had the naive dream of like going
Becoming
pro.
a QB or something like that.
Yeah. Become a hockey player. That was what I wanted to be. I didn't get into football until a little bit later in high school. By that point, I already was realistic enough that I knew I wasn't going to make it pro.
Okay.
But no, for like several years after high school, didn't really have a clue what I wanted to do. I had thoughts of being a gym teacher at one point, and went to the U of M one day, and I was like so overwhelmed by everything coming from small town. I was like, this is insane. And the idea of committing for 5 years. So I only went one day, dropped out.
One day commit.
That was it for me. But like I also, so my first year after high school, I went to a Bible college. My parents, Christians. I grew up going to church all my life, and my parents strongly encouraged some sort of Christian education for at least 1 year after high school.
Okay.
They said, we'll pay for it, and you can do basically whatever you want. If you want to like do a Bible college, you can do that. If you want to go to like a YWAM or a Cape and Ray or some kind of discipleship program, you can do that. And so I went to Bible college for a year. Wasn't really sure where to go, and my sister was at one in Abbotsford, and so I decided I'll go there so that I at least know somebody. There aren't any Bible colleges or options in Carmen where I grew up, so I had to go away from home, and so I wanted to go somewhere that I knew people. And it was an interesting experience. There were great parts, there were not so great parts, but at that time I didn't have intentions to go into youth ministry. I grew up in Pentecostal church and going to a Pentecostal camp in the summer, and so I heard lots of stories from pastors about being called into ministry, and lots of them, the story went something like, I was only kind of following Jesus, and I didn't want to go into youth ministry, but basically God dragged me into it to the point where I couldn't say no. And so that was my idea of what it means to be called to ministry, and kind of like, unless you have that experience, you shouldn't be in ministry, because that's what it should be. Yeah. And so So like I kind of enjoyed youth ministry. Like even in my high school years, I volunteered in the junior youth that we had at our church. And then the next several years after high school, even after this Bible college year, I worked as an EA in some different schools, a couple different school divisions. The biggest chunk of that was in a classroom for students with autism. And it was in a high school, but they weren't in the classroom with all the other high school students because they were functioning more like 2 to 5 year olds, for the most part. About half of them were nonverbal. But I loved it. Like it was such an awesome job, even though it was like really hard and really intense. I really enjoyed it. And while I was doing that, I was volunteering in the youth ministry back home in Carmen, even though I was living in Winnipeg, and then also got connected at Oasis, started volunteering at, I think I started at Inside Out.
Okay.
And I was a life group leader, and just the more that I got involved in youth ministry, the more I enjoyed it, and the more that I started to feel like maybe God has wired me for something like this. Like I feel like I'm pretty good at it. And not necessarily like in an arrogant way, but like, maybe this is something that I should actually be pursuing. And so even though I never to this day have had that like dramatic calling to ministry, and partly through reading Isaiah, I think it's Isaiah, where he essentially like volunteers for the mission, and he's like, send me, I'll go. And so that was kind of my thinking, was maybe I should actually pursue this, and maybe God is okay with me volunteering for it more than being dragged into it. And so I decided to go back to Bible college and pursue a ministry degree. And that's kind of the long story of how I ended up actually getting into youth ministry.
Nice. I like that you kind of have Isaiah in there, because it's such a strong, just specifically those verses where he says, who shall I send? And I spoke up and send me, Lord. It's so good. And it's in one of my favorite movies, Fury, after obviously they're in a tank in the Second World War, and they're stranded, and they know this is going to be their last stand, and none of them are Christian or religious except for the gunner. And so there's a couple of scenes there where they talk about the Bible, and they bring up Isaiah, because it's going to be their last stand, and it's really cool.
Okay.
And it's one of my favorite verses in the Bible, and it's interesting that you kind of feel the same way. Not your favorite verse, but that you relate to it and it kind of feels the same.
Yeah.
Nice. You mentioned that it's not been an easy job, and it's rewarding, but it's not. Yeah, it's rewarding, but it's not easy. How do you stay spiritually healthy when ministry is your job?
Yeah. That's, I feel like it's hard to answer that just like with a quick, simple answer, but I think it definitely very much comes out of a personal relationship with Jesus, and that one-on-one time spent with him. And especially when times are tough, and I am going through struggles, bringing those to Jesus, and allowing him to care for me, and reminding myself of his presence in my life and what he has done, and the bigger picture of how like it all comes back to I need him, and he's rescued me from my sin. He's forgiven me. He's chosen me. He's adopted me into his family. He calls me his son. And so when I'm doing things really well, I'm reminding myself I still need Jesus, and you're not that great. And when I'm really struggling, I'm reminding myself, like, God's taken care of your biggest need, and he's in your life, he's in your corner, he cares about you. And so I think those help me not to get too high and prideful. When there are things I could point at and be like, oh yeah, Garret, you're pretty special. Like you're doing a pretty good job. Yeah. You got all these students in your youth ministry, whatever, and like, helps me not to get too high in those moments. And also, we've been through some really hard times in ministry. My wife and I started a youth ministry in the inner city, and there was a whole lot of brokenness that was, there's a lot of brokenness with like the rich white kids too, but they hide it a little bit better, whereas inner city they show it a little bit more. And so it was a little more obvious to see a lot of the brokenness in the students we worked with and within their families. And within that first year there, one of our students committed suicide. And so like when you're in those horrible moments, it's totally just going back to that foundation of a relationship with Jesus. And Jesus, I need you. Help me, please help me, crying out to him. And I did that a lot, especially our last little bit when we were in Saskatoon. We were fostering some kids and loved them so dearly and didn't want to leave them, but also felt like we should be coming back to Manitoba and trying to wrestle with that and figure out God's will and how it could make sense that he would want us in Manitoba if the kids can't come. And so we tried to bring the kids, and it was this whole long, complicated journey. And eventually we were told that the kids couldn't come. And never in my life have I cried so much over like a 3-month span, just crying out to God. What are we supposed to do? But totally just depending on him and relying on him, and spending that time alone with him regularly, trying to carve out time each and every day, even when life's busy and it feels harder to make that time, or that time's not quite as obvious. And I'm fortunate being a pastor. I often have a little more flexibility for some of that, which I think is totally necessary.
Absolutely.
But long story long, it's all Jesus.
Nice.
And depending on him and relying on him.
Yeah. Well, there's so many things you said there. I don't want to interrupt, so that's right, but there's so much truth in what you said. And it's just like, I remember this last part that you just talked about. And it's like when you're the most busy and everything's kind of going your way, in a sense, your work is going great, it's busy, and you're getting home and you don't feel that tired, so you can still do chores, and the weather's nice, and you have your friends and your family is healthy. That's when you should be thanking God the most and actually talking to him the most, instead of just only waiting to when you have a problem or things are starting to fall apart, then you only reach out. And there's obviously, that's when you actually kind of connect with them the most, but at the same time you have to make that effort to connect with them just as much when you're at the high spot. Thankful for everything he's doing.
And I think when you have that consistent time with him, then it makes it a lot less awkward when you do have to go to him for help.
For sure.
Because it's like, I mean, it's kind of like any relationship. If you only ever talk to me when you need something from me, like, I'm a human, so I'm going to respond differently than God. But even for you to come to me, like, you're going to feel a little bit awkward. You're not going to be quick to come to me. You're going to avoid it for a while until you're really desperate. Whereas if it's just part of your every day and throughout the day, you're just used to constantly cultivating that relationship, then it just feels more natural and normal. And it's going to be easier to come to him, and you're going to feel a lot more loved and a lot less ashamed.
Yeah, for sure. Well, now moving on into something a little bit more, like a little bit different. Do you have any fun stories from your youth nights, or from you being a leader, or from you in a youth group
Okay.
that you
know
can
what?
remember of?
You know what? I couldn't just narrow this down to one.
Yeah.
And most of these are like pretty quick, not necessarily like a
No, okay,
good
go ahead,
long
go ahead.
story, but I will say not necessarily super funny off the hop, but I have always, as I mentioned earlier, I love sports, and so I have loved playing sports with students. We had a crew in Saskatoon of boys who loved playing soccer.
Okay.
And I never really grew up playing soccer, so that was kind of a new thing for me, but I had so much fun playing soccer with them. And like anytime I can play some outdoor hockey with kids or basketball, whatever,
Some
anything.
pond hockey, yeah.
I love it. It's always fun. And I find that sports are such a cool opportunity to play with a kid and to like kind of get on their level and just
Absolutely.
enjoy them and encourage them and say their name over and over again.
Yeah.
And yeah, just kind of cheer them on and celebrate them, not just when they're like succeeding and they make the shot or they score the goal or whatever, but being able to cheer on their effort or their courage or different things like that I think really build into them and then end up translating to more effective ministry.
Yeah.
And so those are a lot of my fun memories. We so many times have gone to kids sporting events and cheered them on, and it was really cool. Again, with inner cities, especially, in that not a lot of their parents were there a lot of the time, and there were even some kids who their parents couldn't get them to their sports, and so we often brought them to their games and different things like that. And so then we had the opportunity afterwards, taking them home to stop at Burger King for $1.99 chicken nuggets and
Nice.
just have some silly times at the Burger King, and lots of fun
Great
times
memories.
like that.
Yeah.
And then on like some slightly humorous notes, these were not humorous mostly at the time. This first one was. So as I mentioned, some of these kids, they're not coming from church, they're not coming from Christian backgrounds.
Yeah.
They don't have the same filters that some of us do.
Okay.
And so we're having a discussion around the Bible, and one of our guys, he's like totally ringleader of the group, and like one of the most disrespectful kids that we've ever known. Like,
Right.
if you were a female and you were there, like, you were terrified of him, and he was like
Okay.
14. Like you
Oh,
didn't
wow.
even want to go near him because
Right.
he was just gonna rip into you. Like, and yeah, hardly respected anybody. He had a little bit of respect for me, and so I was the one who worked
You could
with him
talk
the
to him,
most. And so, anyways, we're in our discussion, and he is reading the Bible, which already is like kind of surprising. But as he's reading, a couple of his buddies are like goofing off, and they're like chatting with each other, having a side conversation. He turns to them, he pauses reading the Bible. He's like, "Shut up, I'm reading the Bible." And I was like, okay, I'm not
I like it.
I think that's a win. I
Yeah,
don't-
for sure. I think I would take that as a win every
and
day.
that totally, like, I don't remember if I laughed out loud, but I was definitely laughing on the inside. I thought that was just so funny. That's one story that I don't think I'll ever forget.
Yeah.
And then there was another time, that same student with another student who he was like this first guy's like favorite guy to push and prod to do the dumbest things.
Whoa.
Because the second guy would just do anything basically. And we were planning to do, and this was, I can't even believe that I did this, but we were planning to take some of these guys on a camping trip.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so as we were getting closer to the trip, I was realizing, okay, this is maybe not a good idea to take these guys in particular on this camping trip. And so I ended up telling them, sorry, you guys can't come. Like, given this behavior, like, I can't take you. And they were not happy about it.
Of course,
Of course. And when it came time for us to leave for this trip, both of them lived super close to the church building.
Oh boy.
And so we're packing up and we're leaving, and they're there, and they're trying to come on this trip.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, like, you cannot come. And then the one kid, he threatens. He's like, if you don't let me come, I'm going to slash your tire. And I'm like, okay, like,
what are you supposed to say?
Like, oh yeah, now I want you to come. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And so eventually, like, I think as we were driving out, one of them literally like jumped on the back bumper and was like trying to come, but we left, and eventually he jumped off, and I came back and my tire was slashed.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So they were not kidding.
And so that was one of those things that, like, you can't believe it when you come back and you're like, he actually did it. And now looking back, it's funny.
It wasn't probably funny at the time.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't. And then there was another time, another guy. This guy also was like, he just did the dumbest things, and like, he would just like punch holes in the drywall just for fun.
Oh, you just punch the wall. And
yeah. And we even had like cement walls. He would sometimes punch those.
Jeez, that's pretty solid.
Oh yeah. This guy was ridiculous. One time I don't know what he used, because I didn't actually see him do it, but he fessed up to it later. I don't know if he used a rock or whatever, something sharp, and he carved penis into our paint on the side of our car.
On the car?
In the car, yeah, in our car. Fortunately, our insurance covered it. But before that happened, what was funny was my dad came to visit us.
Oh, boy.
And he sees it.
Yeah. Before you guys see it.
No, we already knew about it. But my dad is just like so naive. He sees it and he's wondering why somebody carved a pair of scissors in the side of my car. And we're like, Dad, I'm glad you have that mind and that you haven't been exposed to the things I have.
Yeah,
but
he probably wasn't very accurate with the whatever he carved it with.
It maybe wasn't the best picture, but still, it was very obvious to us what he was trying to do. But my last story.
Go ahead.
Last story is we were doing. Youth ministry, you do some stupid games, like some ridiculous stuff. And I remember
bacon.
I remember one time we were playing some kind of relay race. And as part of the relay, students had to they had to crawl on all fours, and they had to go from one bowl that was filled with dog treats, and they had to pick up the dog treat in their mouth, and then they had to transport it to a bowl on the other side of the room.
That was empty, yeah.
Yeah. And so they're going back and forth, and they're like, student after student is sticking their face in this same bowl of dog treats. And then something like COVID happens, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we did that. I can't believe we did that.
So much germs and bacteria and just everybody's, oh gosh.
Yeah. I'm not sure a game like that will ever happen again, but
yeah,
it was really
It makes you think. It makes you think, what were you thinking at the time?
Oh yeah.
And it's like you weren't really aware of the danger. Oh, not the dangers, but just the what's going on.
It was so much less gross back in 2019. That wasn't that. I mean, it was gross. It wasn't like.
It wasn't.
This could kill somebody.
Concerning. Right, it wasn't really concerning, or you wouldn't really raise your eyebrows and be like, oh, I don't know about that. Yeah. Stuff like that. All right.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, back to something serious here. What's the hardest part of leading somebody spiritually?
I think one of the hardest things is just totally not being in control. And like, I've been in youth ministry for 10 plus years, and paid ministry. I've been in youth ministry for half my life, but and so like I have a decent idea of like when you do this, these are going to be the consequences. This is where it's going to lead.
Yeah.
And when you do this, this is where it's going to lead. And so a big part of my job is like telling students how to live and what to do and the things that are going to lead to the best life. And one of the hardest things is not being able to control those decisions and seeing them make decisions that are leading in a direction that they're going to regret, or that are going to lead to all kinds of negative consequences, all kinds of pain and struggle, whether that's decisions that they make in relationships and chasing after relationships that are going to leave them empty, or the ways that they treat people, or stepping into addictions, or even just like things that aren't necessarily on the surface that harmful, like investing 20 hours of your week every week into playing sports and not really having any time in your life to hang out with your family, or to go to youth group and be part of your life group, or to spend time with Jesus. And like, it's never that obvious or that clear to students, but I see things like this and I'm like, man, I wish that I could help you more, and that you could see where this is leading, and that Jesus just has something so much better for you. I think that's one of the hardest things.
And are you talking like, because I would say that's the way I saw it. Like when I was in high school and I was talking to my leaders, and I talked about this last episode with Deleska about how I kind of I was in Talbot's group, and he was we were kind of close at the time, and he would tell me like, oh, what's up, and I would just talk to him, and he'd be like, oh, I went through the same things, and this is what I did, but I don't suggest you do it this way because of personal experience. And so it's that something that you would say the same way. You mentioned sports, and you mentioned sports also when you were young. So is that something that you're talking about experience or somebody else, or just from knowledge that you have? Yeah,
more so just from seeing it in people's lives. Like I was so fortunate in that, like I'm very thankful for the family I grew up in. I grew up the youngest of 5 siblings, and so I was able to learn a lot from my 4 older siblings' mistakes, and some of the dumb decisions they made. Yeah. And I had a really solid friend group that I grew up with in my youth ministry, and so they helped me to make a lot better decisions. And so I wanted to be at youth group more than I wanted to be at hockey on a Friday night. And so even though I played on the hockey team, I told my coach I'm not playing on Friday nights. And and just interpret, like I also grew up playing sports, and I guess at the time I wasn't, like in Colombia, it wasn't like a huge thing going to life group. It is now, but when I was getting into it, it really wasn't, and I would rather stay either just home. Right. I would, thankfully our games weren't on the same days as life group. But I would just say I'd rather go to the game than go to life group. So it's something that as a young kid, I would say it's pretty impressive, because like some of our guys, I don't know if some of them would choose to either come to life group or go to the game, right? And they're pretty big into sports, and I guess some of it is regarding the parents, because they're still that young that the parents dictate wherever they end up, and sometimes they don't even want to be at youth, but they're at youth. Or they are at the game and they don't want to be at the game, they want to be at youth. So and my coach assumed it was actually my parents' decision, and so my coach went to my dad and was like, "Hey, let your kid play on Friday nights," like, because I was one of the better players on our team, and so my coach wanted me there. But my dad was like, "Dude, you gotta talk to my son. This is his decision. He's the one." And so like I am so thankful that I did prioritize that. Like I'm sure there were nights where I wished that I
would have played.
Would have played,
Yeah.
yeah. Especially if my team lost by like 1 goal or something like that. And I wasn't super like religious about it either. Like, if it was playoffs and my team really needed me, then I think I probably went to hockey. But I think, yeah, it was something that I prioritized, and I'm thankful for it to this day. But I know, like you say, I think the norm for most kids, and I think part of it is because they're sold this dream you can do anything, and everybody wants to make it to the bigs and get paid hundreds of millions of dollars like athletes do today. Yeah, like, and McDavid barely even gets paid compared to baseball players and football players. Like, it's just,
that's another
nuts.
subject, totally different than like NBA and like even NFL, like Micah Pearson's being the top paid QB. It's insane. Yeah, and the money and the fame and like just the way people look at athletes. Like, I think a lot of kids dream of that, and I don't know that they would necessarily acknowledge that's why I want to prioritize hockey or football or whatever sport it is. But yeah, I think the norm is, if there's a conflict between youth group and sports, at least in our youth ministry, most of them are going to go to sports, and I'm not totally sure why that is, but I did talk to one student yesterday who said, I have basketball tonight, but I chose to come here instead. Did they give you an answer, a reason of why they did?
No, I didn't necessarily ask questions, but I thought, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
And I said that's great that you're here instead of being at basketball. And she loves basketball, so I thought that was cool. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where that's just one of the many things where I see some of the decisions that people make, and it hurts, and often leads to pain, or just like sometimes there's often pain that people experience it's not their fault. They didn't bring it upon themselves, and that's another one of the things that's really hard in pastoring people, is just seeing them struggle and hurt, and this world is just so broken, and so often people are treating other people so poorly and hurting others, and sickness and disease it's a broken world. It's not the way it was designed, and fortunately it helps point us to the hope that we have in a future world that is free from all those horrible things.
Yeah, I've actually kind of noticed that, again, because I guess we get the news at our work, we get the newspaper, and now, being older, you kind of realize more like what the world is about and all the news, and it's like, it's just so crazy now. Like, everything you see, all the news are just bad. There's really small good news, and it's like always, you always turn the TV on, and always talking about all the bad stuff that happens,
right?
But it would be like, maybe like a small robbery at some local place, but not, these are like global issues, so like really concerning situations and just events that are going on, and there's so many of them, and not only in one sector of the world, but like in all sectors of the world, the economy, and then safety and environmentalism, and it's just like very overwhelming for somebody, at least it is for me, just being in my early 20s and already having to deal with all this. And it's something that I've talked about with a couple of friends, and they just don't want to, they kind of find like a cheap escape in a sense by playing video games, or listening to music, or just driving sometimes. But it's it's not changing anything, and it's in a sense up to us and up to all these kids that we're ministering to. This is what they're gonna grow up with, and this is what they're going with, and it shouldn't be this way. And the thing is, we don't know where it's going. Like, it's really hard to tell, because it's just in so many sectors that you can't really focus on one and try to fix one without the other ones spiraling out of control even more. So it is crazy. But next question here is, what's something you wish people knew about being a youth pastor? Something that doesn't get talked about much, spoken about much. I don't know if you already talked about it a little bit. Maybe somebody listening to it already is like, oh, I had no idea all of this was into being a youth pastor. But something from your experience that you've told people that they're surprised to hear, or something that you know people will be surprised to hear.
Yeah, I think one thing that I think that when people think of like a priest or a pastor or somebody in that sort of role, they assume that it's like some sort of spiritually elite person.
Okay.
And like, I would just say that I'm not like I'm not any more spiritually elite now that I'm a pastor than I was before becoming a pastor.
Okay.
Like, and I think, yeah, I don't know. I'm also human. I also need God's grace. I also mess up. And I think like there are times where I'm talking about something that I have done or a decision that I've made, that shows my commitment to Jesus. And I feel like in a sense, it's worth less in people's eyes. Not that I do it for other people, but their mentality is almost like, oh yeah, but you're a pastor, so like,
so it's okay.
You should be doing that.
Yeah.
Whereas it in a sense it gives them a pass because like, well, I'm not spiritually elite like that, so my standards are lower. But like my standard, like Jesus' standards for me aren't any higher than they are for you or for anybody else who calls himself a follower of Jesus. His standard is incredibly high, and we're all going to fail and fall short of it, but it's a standard that we should all be chasing after, and we are saved by grace through faith, and it's not the works that save us, but we are also called to do great works and to, yeah, I don't know. That's one thing that comes to my mind when you ask this question, is just like somewhat the sense like anybody can do it. Like,
okay.
Like you don't have to, you don't have to be some spiritually elite person to be a youth pastor. And obviously there are many different qualities and expectations that Paul talks about in his letters to Timothy and Titus for like, there's certain character that people should have before they're put in positions of leadership, but also at the same time not like, I don't know. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I feel like everybody with the right, and if I'm just gonna say what I think you're saying. Sure. In other words, see if it kind of makes sense. Like everybody, in a sense, really dumbing it down, or in a sense, we're all born the same. And it's how we grow up and how we view the world, that is the vision that we're given about who and what is a pastor or a spiritual leader. And then we have that idea of, oh, I could never be that person. And we have also people in our lives that are spiritual leaders, and then we compare them to, we just generalize the spiritual leader towards what they are. So if you only know one spiritual leader or two spiritual leaders, and they're all kind of like the similar, then you know that spiritual leader position or role is just what they're doing and how they are and how they act and how their character they are and their personality. So you compare yourself and like, I'm very different from that person. I don't even like the same cereal. So I'm not gonna be a spiritual leader. I'm not gonna be pastor. I'm not gonna be in ministry at all. Right. And it could be something like that. But if you look at a different person, if you example, move cities or travel to a different country, you'll be like, oh, this person likes the same cereal I like, and they're a spiritual leader, so maybe I could be into it. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, totally. All right. Sorry, one other thing. No, go ahead. One other thought I had on this question. So, I actually had a student just ask me yesterday, because people often are like, what does a pastor even do all week? Yesterday was Collide. Yeah. Yesterday was our youth ministry. So at the end of the night, after everything, one student kind of turned to me and was like, what do you even do all week? Wow. Because
all they see is the like
Friday nights. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is the 2 or 3 hours that we're together on a youth night, or for adults with the lead pastor, they see the like 1 hour service, and they're like, what do
That's
you
it,
even do
yeah.
with all your time?
You have a whole week crammed into 1 hour.
Yeah.
Like, how do you? Yeah.
Yeah. So for anybody who's wondering what a youth pastor does all week, there's a whole lot of planning, coordination, pastoral care for students, for their families, and for small group leaders that goes into it, and it all takes far longer than you might anticipate it to. So that's kind of a little general synopsis of what I do with all of my time.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, could you give us a breakdown of today's Saturday? So what have you done this week specifically? Like, yesterday was youth, and tomorrow is Sunday service. But what did you do, Monday through right before Clyde yesterday?
Monday's easiest because that's Sabbath, so I did no work on that day.
You had to stay home?
Yeah. Mostly
family?
just kind of chill at home with the fam, maybe go for a walk or hang out in the backyard, maybe play or watch sports. I'll usually watch something
Monday
on the
Night
PVR.
Football, so that's back up.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm always so far behind. So I was still watching Sunday afternoon football on Monday, but yeah, I just kind of hang out. And then Tuesday is like our big, like our main day in the office where we've got a big programming meeting in the afternoon. So in the morning, it's a lot of like catching up on emails that I've gotten throughout the weekend and following those up. And we also every day in the office, we at 10 o'clock, all the staff who are there. 10 at 10 they call it. We spend 20 or 30 minutes, a little bit of time chatting together, hanging out. This week was somebody's birthday, so we had some special treats for their birthday. Okay. And then spend a little bit of time in prayer, just in like small groups of 2 or 3 people. And it gives us a little bit better picture of what's going on in the broader church and other people's lives, and allows us to care for one another and connect. And then in the afternoon, we do our student ministry programming meeting. And so we look back at the previous week and talk about all the great things that God did, and we celebrate those together. And then we also look ahead at the next week, and we plan out which songs we're going to do, what the transitions are going to be like between songs, if there's going to be some sort of connection, and what the message is all about, and any notes that we are taking from last week that we need to make sure that we implement this next week so that things go better. Constantly trying to improve things and do things to the best of our ability. And that's usually like a couple hours by the time we're done talking through all of those things. And sometimes it's looking ahead a couple weeks, and sometimes just looking ahead the 1 week. And then often on Tuesdays, because for sure Tuesday everybody's in the office, over the last several months we've also every now and then been planning for the fall retreat.
I was gonna say you said a couple weeks ahead, definitely now. In 3 weeks being the fall retreat.
So that we've been talking, like, big idea theme was months ago, and figuring out who's going to be speaking and what games are going to be played.
Is the theme a secret?
The theme is not a secret. We're going to be talking about the unseen battle, and so very much coming out of Ephesians 6 and the armor of God, and just like all the how there is an evil out there that you can't see, but it is very real, and we need to prepare for battle and get ready for the unseen battle. And so we've got Armando and Daryl, and we have a guest speaker coming from a different youth ministry in the city. We wanted to add a little bit of variety. Normally we have a female speaker who is my wife, but
She can't this time.
we didn't want to have to depend on her, given that our baby will be not even 2 months old at the retreat.
Jeez.
And so I think she'll maybe still show her face, but yeah, we have somebody else coming, Rhythm Noller, who I think is gonna do a great job. But
Where is he from?
she is from Riverwood Church, I believe. I think she leads
Where's
their
that?
middle school ministry, kind of in the Elmwood area of Winnipeg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been. Maybe I have. I'm not. I'm not exactly sure what this church is, but
I never have
what kind of
either.
makes sense.
I have heard people say that it's similar to Oasis.
okay.
But
Nice.
yeah.
Sorry for the interruption here, folks. This will be the end of this episode of part 1 of the episode with Garret. Part 2 is the next episode. Episode 4 will be the second part. So hope you enjoyed this one, and if you have, you'll definitely enjoy the second part. So stay tuned.